Hi, and welcome to another video by Jim the Car Guy. Today we have a 2003, it's a Honda Accord, and we're going to be changing the front strut assemblies. We're going to be changing the spring, the strut, and the plate all at the same time. So let's get up there. I'm going to show you what kind of tools you're going to need, and then how we're going to get this job done. So come on, let's take a walk up front. Okay, this is an example of what kind of tools you're going to need. You're going to need an assortment of sockets, metric of course, deep as well as shallow. You're going to need, in this case I am going to be using an impact to get some of these bolts off because they are pretty tight, but if you don't have an impact you can use a ratchet to get them off. The longer the extension of the ratchet, the less force you're going to need, so make sure you get a longer ratchet to do it. Don't get one of those short stubby ones because you're going to have a problem getting it off. I did do the left side already, so I do have the sockets laid out for what I need to do the right side. We're going to need a drift like this to line the lower part of the wishbone up with the lower control arm itself. This we're going to need to actually tap out the bolts when they're in there. A 17mm to hold the one nut underneath, which I will show you. I'm going to be using my air gun with an 18mm socket, as well as a hammer, a pry bar, some penetrating oil, and some never cease to put it back together. So let me bring you over. I'm going to explain what we're going to do, and then we're going to get it done. Okay, this is the right side. Like I said, I did the left side already. We're going to spray this up right here with some penetrating oil because you'll see it's a little bit rusty in here. So we're going to spray this up with some penetrating oil. We're going to come around on this side over here. We're going to remove that bolt. That's a 14mm. We're going to come down on the bottom right down over here, right there. That's a 17mm. We're going to spray it up with some penetrating oil. We're going to take that nut off. And then we're going to come in after the nut's off here or loosened up. We're going to tap that bolt out, and then we'll use that center punch to drive it out the rest of the way. All right, and then we're going to take the wishbone, and we're not going to remove the wishbone. We're just going to let it drop down onto here, and we're going to leave it laying inside over here. We'll need the pry bar to put it in here and pry down on the lower control arm to get that wishbone totally out. And then we're going to come up on the top over here, and up underneath here you'll see the bolts up here for the top of the strut itself. We're going to remove 3 14mm, and we're going to remove those 2 12mm. And at that point the strut will come out, and we'll lower the strut out of the car. We're going to take it out this direction over here. We're going to come down and then out through the top. So, all right, enough talking. Let's get some tools and let's get started. And do this by hand. I'm just going to save a little time because we're a little busy here today. So we're going to shoot this bolt out right here. Okay, we'll put this off to the side because we are going to need to use this. All right, we are going to shoot off that 17mm that we have right down over here. Let's just see if we can get in here so you can see what I'm doing. Let's see. This 17mm here, we're going to hold that. And I'm going to shoot that off, and now I'm going to push in with the wrench as I rotate it on the other side. It makes that slide a little bit further. It makes the bolt slide through the wishbone and out through the control arm. All right, and what we're going to do is you come in here with a punch like this. You put it on there and just tap it. We get that bolt to come out like that on the other side. And now our wishbone is disconnected, so we can just rotate it. You can see this. We're going to rotate and push down at the same time. And then you can see the wishbone. We're just going to leave the wishbone laying right in here. We're not going to do anything with it. And now we're going to go up top and we're going to air gun off the bolts up on top, and we're going to leave one still attached up top. Okay, now these are the bolts up on top right here. We're going to air gun off these 2 bolts right here. We're going to loosen up these other 3, and we're going to leave 1 bolt, or 1 nut I should say, still attached. So let's do that. Now you can use a regular ratchet to do this, but I'm just saving a little bit of time. All right, so these 2 we're going to throw away. We're not going to reuse them. Okay, now, remember what I said? We're going to keep that 1 nut partially screwed on, just like that, and then we'll take that one out. And now the strut is totally disconnected. Okay, so now that the strut, as you can see, is totally disconnected, we're going to go back down the bottom, and we're going to lift up, and we'll take that nut off. So let's go back down the bottom. We're going to lift up on the strut, and then we're going to unscrew the nut up on top by hand. All right, so let's do that. Lift it up. We're going to take that nut off. That's trash then too. And then we're going to take the strut out. Just move the wishbone out of your way. And you'll see that sometimes it's a little tight to get it out of there. Like now, you see how it doesn't come through there? Don't worry about it, just take the lower suspension, lift it up a little bit, and you can maneuver it like that. Watch your ABS cables. I'm gonna get a light out of here. And then we can take the old one out. Now the reason that we're changing the entire assembly is you can see that everything is in pretty poor condition up underneath there, and it doesn't make any sense to switch this over to the new strut. So, all right, let's grab a replacement, let's put it back together. We're going to take our new strut, and you're going to line up all the bolts up on top right here. We'll push it through, and then we're going to catch 2 or 3 nuts up on top just to hold it in position. Now remember, it came out like this. So we put it back in the same way that it came out, being careful not to damage the ABS wiring. Now remember, you're using the new nuts, okay? So now we have the strut is suspended up on top with those nuts up there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of on the wishbone. Let's get some light in here so you can see a little better. On this part of the strut right here, we're going to actually put in there, this part of the strut right here, we're going to put some Never-Seez or some grease or something, so that when we slide the wishbone back up there, it'll slide fairly easily. You can use any kind of grease you have. Doesn't really matter, it's just so it slides properly. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take that wishbone, we're going to push down on the lower control arm a little bit like this, just to get in, so we can get that wishbone back in there. And if need be, you can get in here with the pry bar like this, and you can push down. Just slide it back up. Now the wishbone, I want to point out, it does have to go up into that little tiny tab. There's a little tab that sticks down and it goes right into that and it locks it in place, so make sure you get that in there. Now if you're trying to turn this and push it up at the same time and it doesn't go up, it's okay to to get up underneath here with a hammer and just tap on the lower part of the wishbone right here. It's okay to tap on there. It doesn't really hurt it, all right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to tap it up a little bit. Now you hear the sound changes? You heard that sound changes, so we know now that the wishbone is all the way up into the top of the strut where it's supposed to be. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to reattach that upper bolt through the top of the wishbone and the strut. We are going to use some anti-seize on here, or never seize, whatever you want to call it, because even though this is fluted right here, sometimes they do stick inside there, so I always do this because you never know when it's coming back to me for something else. So we're going to catch this now, and we're going to screw it in by hand. And once you have it caught, now you could shoot it in with an air gun. It's just my obsessive compulsive nature. I don't like to shoot these in with an air gun, because back, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, I had a customer come in that was doing their own struts, and they snapped it off, and it was actually a Ford. They snapped it off from the back on the rear suspension, and we wound up having to change the whole assembly. All right, so now we have that caught. We're going to make sure it's all the way up as far as it can go. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to line up. Let's get you down here so you can see what we're doing. Right over here, we're going to line this up now with the lower control arm. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to just push it back in there, like that. We're going to line it up with this in here, just to pull it into position like that. Then we're going to take our bolt, and we're going to go in the opposite side. And you just maneuver it around until it lines up. And then you just tap it through, put your nut on here. Now the reason that we use this in there is so that we can actually maneuver the control arm up and down as needed. If this doesn't work, you can take the pry bar like this, come around the other side in here, get you in here so you can see. You can take the pry bar and put it in to the frame like that, and you could push down on it that way also, if you had to. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to tighten this up, this nut right here first. But like I said, if you don't have an air gun, you can tighten it by hand. Okay, now there is torque specs on this. I am going to get the torque specs. I'll torque it and put this back together, you know, under the correct torque. All right. Now the next thing we're going to do is up in the top, you want to make sure right here that this wishbone is touching right up into that piece right there, which it is. I can feel it's touching, but make sure that your little tab is locked into the wishbone correctly. All right, and now we're going to tighten this up. Again, there's torque specs on this. We will look it up and torque this properly, but for now we're just going to tighten this up until we can get to the top. And we'll come back and we'll torque that. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to go up top and we'll tighten up the top bearing plate. Now remember what I said, you have to use the new bolts on that. I'm sorry, the new nuts. There's two different size nuts. These are 12 or 13 millimeter and these are 15 millimeter. So make sure you put them on correctly. Now these, I usually do not tighten these with an air gun. I usually tighten these by hand. Okay, now everything up top is tight. Let's go down the bottom and we'll go over everything down there. So we made sure that the bolt on the bottom right here is tight. That's that 14 millimeter that goes through the strut and into the wishbone. We made sure it was tight. We made sure that that little tab is up as far as it goes until it touches into it. We then tightened up the wishbone down on the bottom where it goes through the lower control arm. We tightened that up as well. And that's it. Everything is all set. Okay, so now that we have everything back together, everything is all tightened up, we're going to throw the wheels back on it. We're going to take it out for a test drive. And with this particular strut replacement, you will not have to do a wheel alignment because it does not throw the wheel alignment to have whack on it. That's it. You're all set. Now, if you didn't have the entire assembly, then you will have to have somebody press the strut in a machine to switch the spring and bearing plate over. But for the cost, you're better off going for the whole assembly versus paying somebody to switch the spring over, especially when it's an older vehicle. All right, so that's it. We're done. Left side's done, right side's done, wheels are going on, out the door. We're going to take her for test drive and on to the next vehicle. As always, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.